Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me and this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name is Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So, hope that's why you're here because that's what's going to be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap-up. This is my week 3 weekly wrap-up. Includes dates from January 12th through January 18th. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot. This isn't going to be a very long video for me. So if you'd like to find out what I worked on this past week, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so January 12th through January 18th, it was kind of cold. It was really cold, actually. There was 2 decently warm days, and when I mean decently warm, they were in the 40s. But we still have snow on the ground, and currently right now, as filming this, it's like, I don't know, 19 degrees outside, so it's still really fucking cold where I'm at. So I did not make any progress on this bad boy. This is the book that, this is North of the Night by Emily Rath, and I decided to read this book entirely outside as that was my challenge to myself, my reading habit challenge, to read a book entirely outside. This is the one I chose because I feel it's the most fitting. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I don't think I'm going to complete this book this month if I have to read it entirely outside. So I don't want to do this. I don't, but looking at the forecast coming up, I don't think I'm gonna have any actually warm days. So I think I'm just gonna put that challenge back into the jar and then draw it again, hopefully, so I can at least read this book because I really like to read this book. And it's a super cold weekend, so I feel like this is the time that I wanted to read this book. I just don't want to be outside while I read it. I don't feel like this is giving up on my challenge because I'm just putting it back in that jar, but in all reality, I'm not going to sit outside when it's negative fucking 2 degrees outside and read a book. I'm not. Okay? So hopefully I'll have more to talk about this in this coming week so I can actually like bust some stuff out in this because I do feel like I'm going to really enjoy this book. It is Vikings. It's Norse mythology. I feel like this is something that Jackie's going to enjoy. So yeah, I think I'm making the call. I'm putting it back in the jar and maybe I'll do something extra. I don't know what will happen. It's just kind of, sometimes it's the way the cookie crumbles and I'm just going to embrace it. 2025 is a year where things aren't going to go my way. Things aren't going to always make me happy and I need to accept that and embrace that. So I'm embracing the fact that I drew a challenge to read a book entirely outside, but the weather has different issues. But just because the weather is sucky and super cold does not mean I cannot enjoy my books. So that's what we're gonna embrace and we're just gonna go with it. So hopefully I'll have more to talk about this next week, but there you go. Now the book I did complete this week, and the only book I completed this week because this thing was daunting, was Bernard Cornwell's The Winter King. So let's get into this bad boy. Okay, so this is the first installment to the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. It is historical fiction, and it's an Arthurian legend retelling. And it is a retelling. Oh my God. Yeah, we feature some wartime violence and gore. Actually, not some, a shit ton. There's a lot, okay? There's a lot. The series title is called Warlord Chronicles. Okay, so there's a lot of war. Just be prepared. We also have revenge, a lot of political machinations. There is rape in this book, and there is a shit ton of misogynistic language and actions in this book. Granted, it is back in the olden days where this behavior was completely acceptable. And so going in, I just want to make you aware that it is used within the confines, historical confines of the novel, but it is still there. So if you are squeamish or you really can't tolerate that, you might want to be warned. So, quick summary, the land of Britain is fractured after the Romans have come through, and they are fighting amongst themselves. It's a bunch of little fucking tribes fighting amongst themselves, but they're also fighting amongst the Saxons who are on the outskirts. So it's just kind of carnage and war all over the place. And on top of that, we have Christians and pagans trying to coexist, but that's not working either because Christianity wants to overpower the pagans want to overpower the Christians, and when it comes to everyday living, it's kind of okay, but when it comes to hierarchies, who's in charge, who is rulers, kings of that nature, that's when the religion aspect really starts to come into play because that dictates how all the other people believe. Arthur is a bastard son of King Uther, who dies in this novel right at the birth of his grandson, Mordred. Mordred is now his heir, okay? Arthur is Uther's heir, but he is born to not to the queen. So he is not legitimized, okay? But Arthur, through some series of actions, is put in charge of Mordred to make sure that he takes the throne when he becomes of age. So kind of like a regent, but they never actually use the name or title of regent. Okay, they don't. It's just kind of assumed. But there's also 6 other dudes that are in charge of this. Same idea. Okay, it's a lot of chiefs and very little Indians. Okay, it's a lot of chiefs telling people what to do, and it's not really copacetic. It's not working. Okay, to help smooth over some of the transitions, Arthur is contracted to marry Cywin. Cywin, I don't know how to say her fucking name, okay? There's a lot of names in this book I didn't know how to fucking say. Just be straight up honest, okay? I didn't. But Arthur is not a saint. He's not. He's still a man. And he sees Guinevere and turns everything on its head. So everything after Guinevere is all pretty much trying to overcome a personal wrong. And that's kind of where our story really kicks off the most. And this entire story is told through the eyes of Dervel. He lived this story, and he is telling it to Igraine, who is the current queen. And he is telling the story of Arthur and Camelot and Lancelot and Guinevere because she wants to know, because she's inquisitive and she's a young girl married to an old man. Okay, so what worked? The progression of the storyline. I liked how it did progress, how it started before Arthur and then showed Arthur's kind of rise and his little bit of a fall, and then back to where the Arthur of the ethereal Camelot legend is that most people know about. Okay, we do not see the sword and the stone part, but we do have Excalibur, okay, and it's called something else in the story because you have to understand that this story is a retelling. So the author does take a lot of liberties with the original legend and lore and twists it on its head. But I really liked the progression of the story. When I was in the story, I was in it. I was not thinking about other things. I was focused. I was intrigued. So I had a really good time with the pacing of the story, with the pacing of the events in this story. There wasn't a lot of downtime. A lot of time where it was just kind of like relaxation. It's very action-packed, very busy, very descriptive, heavy on the combat. Very much so. So if you're into that, it definitely will help keep you motivated. I said that this is an Arthurian legend retelling, but it's a flip. Cornwell definitely flips this. So we've all heard the Arthurian legend of, Lancelot being the bravest warrior and handsome beyond all get out, and Galahad and Arthur and Camelot. We've all heard this, okay? Lancelot's a pussy. He's a bitch. Straight up. He can't do shit. He's got a pretty face, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. At least that's the way this story is told. And Arthur is a very honorable, very just man, but he is a man and he has his triggers and we see them. And when he's in battle, he is cutthroat and cunning, and his ambition is shown more over his honor in this story. So it's definitely a different viewpoint of the Arthurian religion. Really what it is, it's the view of the underling of the Arthurian religion, because Dervel was a slave-born child on tour and was raised by Merlin. Okay, and then he was groomed into becoming a warrior and the honor, and he has basically been subjugated to different instances in life where he has to rise to meet the challenge. But he is still an underling. He is still an underling. He is not royalty born. So this is really seeing the royalty political machinations from a non-heir apparent kind of person. And it's awesome. That's a really cool angle to take, because not only do we have Dervel's ambition and want to grow and honor and want to follow people that he believes in, we also have the same time where he's seeing what it does to the other people. We get to see both sides of the coin. So I really enjoy the duality of the story. I thought that was really, really great. I love the Saxon and Christian comparisons. There's a lot of religious intrigue into the story, and I really had a good time with it. So we see this within the little bit of dialogue that we have based off of the Saxons dialogue and the Christian and pagan dialogue. They all speak in a different way, not a different language, but like a different way. Some are more blunt, some are more beating around the bush, and some are kind of a blend of both. We see that in discussion. We see that in ceremonies. We see Christian ceremonies. We see pagan ceremonies. Okay. And they're awesome. We see them side by side, direct comparison at the same moment. While the Druids are doing their crazy ghost fences, the Christians are doing their Hail Marys, Our Fathers, and all of this other shit on the same battlefield. And it's crazy to think that that probably actually happened. And it didn't bother people then. Because we have a Christian and a pagan side by side fighting. But they're fighting for the same cause, but because they believe in different things, they're going to seek out assistance in different ways, but they're still fighting for the same thing. It's crazy. And it was just really well done the way he did it. I just thought that infusing of that difference and separatism in almost every aspect of this book was really, really intriguing. I enjoyed that. We also see within delivery of scenes, when we are talking to Dervel, who is Saxon born, okay, he's Saxon born, but he is taken and raised in the Druid tour with Merlin. So he has kind of both going for him. And then as he's telling the story, by the way, he's a Christian. So we know he's gone through the fucking gambit. Just to see how scenes are delivered with him within the different time periods of his life that we get to experience within this novel is really, really cool. We see a much more blunt Dervel in the beginning. Then we see a much more kind of beating around the bush, wait your turn, everything will be unfolded in the actual telling of the story. And then throughout other pieces, we see kind of this where he's kind of switching between to figure out which fits best for him. And I thought it was really, really cool. Also, another major aspect that worked in this book is Arthur. I mean, I love that they made Arthur a man, a human man with wants and desires and ambitions of his own. I love the switch when you see him be so humble and say, when he goes to a king that has fallen and he kneels knowing that he is not a king himself. He is still, he's a bastard son. He had no legitimate ties. He's just making sure that the actual king takes the throne when, he becomes of age. So he still offers all of this same, hierarchy and respect to a man he's literally just beaten. And just the switch with what this man is saying to him about his wife. This woman who has literally changed his world. It's so crazy to see this flip. But I love the fact that we got to see it. That even good men can have bad days and have bad moments and make rash decisions that have fallout. And now he has to deal with it. There are many times in this story that Arthur is saying, this is all happening because of me and I need to take responsibility for it. Because of my choice, this is what's happening. But I love the fact that he still stands up for his choice. I loved it. I really enjoyed Arthur. I enjoyed the fabledness of him that we got in the story. I also enjoyed the realness that we got of him in the story. I thought it was really, really cool. As much as I like this book, what didn't work was there is very minimal dialogue in this story. Very, very minimal dialogue. Some pages have maybe 6 spoken things on it and the rest of his description. Is that a bad thing? No, but it does make for this book to read very, very slowly because dialogue does take up space on the pages. This book is only 425 pages, okay? This edition is only 425 pages, but they are dense and solid. I mean, look at that. There's no dialogue on this page. None. Yeah, there's no dialogue on my page. There's no dialogue on this page. Multiple pages of this, of no dialogue, okay, makes it very, very long-winded. So I would sit there and read for 30 minutes. I read this on a sprint. When our sprint was like 30 minutes, and I read for 30 minutes, and I look back, I got 15 pages done. I'm not a slow reader. I'm not a super fast reader, like, speed reading, but I'm not a slow reader. So for me to read 15 pages in 30 minutes, what? because there's no fucking dialogue. So be prepared if you pick this up that it's going to be a dense read. It's an interesting read. It's an exciting read. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of description. There's a lot of world building. There's a lot of words that I can't fucking pronounce. Annoying. Yes. But it does if you are a fast reader, it might take you a little bit longer than you normally would devour a book in to get through it. Just letting you know. At least that was my experience with it. And the other thing I just want to make you aware of, it's not that it didn't work in the book, because it did. For the time period that this book is written in, this is completely acceptable for the time period and historical parameters that this book is written in. And that's misogynic tendencies and the language towards women in it. However, it's a lot. Okay? There is rape, and it's not really acknowledged. There is constant derogatory words being thrown at, like Guinevere, for instance. There's a whole couple of pages where a guy is screaming that she's a whore and you're a whore lover. If you fight for the man who loves this woman because she's a whore, she spreads her legs for everybody. It's constant derogatory. Even though we know that Arthur left and broke his promise, he's the one who fucking did it. He's the one who did it. She's the blame. So there's a lot of that. And that was a common thing. The scapegoat. The scapegoat. So just be warned about that. Does it work in this novel? Does it fuel the scenes? Does it fuel the passion of Arthur? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because these are the scenes where you really see Arthur almost come alive. He's not wooden or stone through most of it, but this is where the passion really resides. This is where because this is not a romance by any shape or form, but the romance lover in me, this is where I saw Arthur burn the world down. This is where I saw that morally gray guy. And I'm like, oh, I love you. I loved you before, but now I love you because you are fighting for the woman that you chose, that you literally turn the world upside down for. And I think that's fantastic. So it was necessary to bring that out in Arthur, but there's quite a lot of it. There is. So just go into it being warned. If you are easily offended by that, I have warned you. It's there. But in the confines that this book is written in, it's done well. And it's used well. And there is some comeuppance for it, so. Yep. All in all, I gave this book 4 stars. I enjoyed it, and I'm very anxious to see how they continue to dismantle the Arthurian legend in the next 2 installments, which I do plan on purchasing. And I did find out that they did turn this into a show. This series into a show last year. It's been canceled. So I think it only has like 1 season or maybe a few episodes. I haven't done much research into it, but I do think I'm going to watch it and see if I can find it, what I think of it, because I know his other series, there's another series that this author wrote that turned into a much more beloved series, The Seventh Kingdom, or I think it's called The Seventh Kingdom. So I'm going to give it a try and watch it and see what we think. So yeah, that was a good one. 4 stars. And this is a TBR vet. This thing has been on here for a while. So I don't exactly know remember when I bought this book. I think I bought it while still being on YouTube. So I'll have to go back and check my hauls, because I mean, it's a book outlet book, because this little black dot is from Book Outlet. So I will have to figure out when I bought this book to see how old of a vet it actually is. But I'm very happy that it's under my belt. Definitely something I was not expecting to read this year, but I'm very happy that I did, because it was very different and I enjoyed it. And now I have this craving for more of Arthurian stuff. I love Camelot, and I don't read a lot of Camelot retellings, because I just love the actual lore, but like now I'm like obsessed. So yeah, that's how it goes. But that was my week in reading, guys. That was my week in reading. Not a lot Not a lot, but sometimes that's how it goes. I still have 2 full weeks before the end of the year, and I've got a lot of books. I've got a lot of books, so I don't know if I'm going to complete my TBR this year, but we will see. We will see what happens with these cold nights. See if I can maybe just be like, I'm not doing anything, thanks. I'm just going to sit inside and read my book. Thank you. But that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you guys all soon with another video.